Hey guys, it's Kim with another movie for guys. Now, this movie reviewing, I don't know why it took me so long to finally watch this movie. I remember I wanted to see it in theaters, but once again, this was a movie that I just didn't get a chance to see till now. But it was a movie that I was definitely looking forward to, and that movie is none other than Deepwater Horizon. Like I said, I really wanted to watch this movie back when it first came out. I don't know why it took me so long. But either way, this was a film that I definitely was real looking forward to for a number of reasons, definitely was really looking forward to it, because of its cast and because of the events of what happened. But I was a little bit worried because these films in general, while I think that these natural disaster films are very important, they don't really have that stick with me value. Most times I watch them, they're very effective at the time, but I don't really remember them that well. And I was worried that Deepwater Horizon was going to turn out the way. And I have to say that after watching Deepwater Horizon, that's actually not the case at all. I actually really, really love Deepwater Horizon for many other reasons. This movie did a really great job at separating itself from other disaster films in many ways, and I'll get into why it does that so well. But let's get to the plot of Deepwater Horizon, because the plot of this movie I really do love. Basically, the plot is we follow all of these characters around who work at Deepwater Horizon, which is in fact an oil rig, on April 20th, 2010, and basically it's a normal day in the job and everything, but one day they have this huge, this massive blowout and all these violent explosions, and basically these two of the crew members, and the ones that are there, they all have to work together to try to get everyone off the oil rig. And basically it's what caused the biggest oil spill in US history, and it's how everyone else survives it. And that is really all I'm going to say about Deepwater Horizon. There's not really a ton to say when it comes to the plot, but let's get into what I really want to talk about, which is the cast and the characters. Like I said, when it comes to these movies, they don't really have that replay value for me, and it's mainly because of the fact that I don't really feel connected to these characters, aside from maybe a few interesting traits about them. It seems like, they're always so, focused on getting to that event and seeing it play out, and while that's what this movie does do, the movie cares a lot more about the characters than I think other disaster movies do, and that's something that really makes this movie stick out very well. Everyone really did a great performance, but by far the best in this movie, without a doubt, is Mark Wahlberg as Mike Williams, who I'm very happy to say is the best. I thought that he was absolutely fantastic in this movie. I really did love his character, and what I loved about him is that he's not this huge hero who did all these amazing things, because yes, he is in fact saving people, and yes, he is the head of the story, but at the same time, he's very tentative, and he's very scared, and he's also a neat freak, and there's just a lot of really great things about his character that I much did enjoy, and you're really with him the whole movie. Like, when shit's going down, you're scared for his life, and I think he did a really great job of setting him up. I thought overall he was a very interesting character. I really love what he had to do in this movie. His relationship with Kate Hudson, I thought was really well done. She actually is a lot more doing this movie than I thought she would. Like, I really thought she was just going to be in here for like one or two scenes, but she had a lot more to do, and I was very happy to see that. Their relation was actually a huge part of this movie. The way they rely on each other, the type of relationship they have, I thought was just really well done, and I thought Mark Wahlberg was very well casted here. Definitely really loved what he had to do, and he definitely was really, really great in this movie, between his relation with his daughter, and, everything going on there is a great scene between him and his daughter, and him explaining to her, what a job on the oil rig really means, how much this job means to him. Just all of that very well sets up the disaster. It makes this, and not just that, it also makes it very connected to his character, and that's something this movie does exceptionally well, like I said, more than other films of its kind do. And the same goes for Kurt Russell. I really loved his character of Mr. Jimmy. This is someone who, yeah, he is a bit of a hard ass, but he's someone that everyone very much respects. He very much cares about the oil rig, and a lot of people start to blame him for the disaster. I've heard a lot of people say, oh, this was Jimmy Harrell's fault, that he wasn't paying attention to what he was doing. But I liked the way the movie did a good job at not really making any sort of accusations. Like, they make everyone a victim in this story, and that's absolutely the way to go. I really love what Kurt Russell did here. He was really great. And John Malkovich as well. I didn't expect a lot from him, but he really had a lot to do here. I really liked his character in the movie. He definitely was very well done. And then, of course, most of all, actually, the person I was looking forward to the most in this movie, and I'm very happy to say gave a great performance, thank God, was Gina Rodriguez as Andrea Fleitas. I was very worried about her because in the trailer, it looked like she had stuff to do. I was worried that most of her scenes were going to be in the trailer, and that's not at all the case. She's actually one of the key players in this movie, and thank God for that, because it's time that Gina Rodriguez gets some more recognition. I mean, yeah, she's great in Jane the Virgin, but I want to see her do something different. This is completely different than what you've seen her do in Jane the Virgin, and I really appreciate the fact that she did a movie like this, because this is a much different type of character who's more of a tomboy, who wants to be treated just like the rest of the men, and you really do care about her. Again, they do a very good job of developing her character, and she really was great in this movie. You know, she's very frantic at points, but she's also very funny, and I really like what she did here. She was definitely really great to watch. Everyone in this movie did a great job. I thought the entire cast did such a great job, and really they're one of the things that make this movie so great and make it, like I said, really is just a cut above the rest. So the cast here, like I said, really is great, but let's get to the directing and the screenplay. The directing here by Peter Berg, I think, is absolutely sensational. I think he really did an incredible job directing this movie. It might be one of the best directed movies of the year, and it's mainly because of the fact that he doesn't try to make this a big, skeptical, Hollywood-type film. What he does is, yes, this is something that happens, and he puts you into it right away. But I like that there is definitely some sort of foreshadowing that the oil rig is coming, but he makes this more as this was just another typical day in the office that went really, really wrong, and that's something that the directing was done really, really well here. It takes a long time for the disaster to actually happen, and you would think, oh, that's going to be boring, but it's not, because the way he establishes the tone. In fact, the first hour of this movie is actually a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun watching the first hour of the movie, you know, seeing the crew members kind of be assholes to each other, but also be very fun to each other, and you see they very much respect each other, seeing what their work environment was like, and seeing the way that they weren't really doing things right, they were getting reprimanded, what was going on. All of that I thought was actually really, really interesting. I think the tone that Peter Berg had throughout the movie was really, really well done. Now, when shit goes down, it gets really, really crazy. In fact, this is one of the most frantic and unnerving films I've seen all year. I mean, I was on the edge of my seat so many times throughout this movie, and that's mainly because of how great the directing by Peter Berg is. You don't see this coming out of nowhere, because of the fact that the movie is so slow-paced in the way it decides to do the disaster, you kind of forget it's going to happen, and that's something I thought was really cool in the movie. I mean, yeah, you know that there's going to be some sort of disaster, but because of how invested I was in the characters, I kind of forgot a lot that was going to happen. That was something that was so well done with the directing. When the movie got crazy, it got crazy. And let's get into the screenplay, because I really did love the screenplay of this movie. The movie's not really about just the oil rig disaster. It's more about the relationship that they all have, and who's really to blame? How did this go wrong? What were the crew's reactions to all this? All of that stuff was really well done. The movie is really a great message, I think, about teamwork, and you could say that for a lot of different type of films, but this movie really does rely on the entire team. The entire team has to work together, the entire team has to work through this situation, and they did that really, really well here. We're making it about the team, showing how much they care about each other, showing the relationships that they have, and really, by building up all of those great relationships, when characters are in danger and shit is going down, you really, really feel for them. Like, honestly, you don't know who's gonna make it out of this movie, and I'm glad that I went into this movie not really knowing a ton. Now, I will say that I do remember this event happening. Very rarely do I say that. You know, most times I'm like, oh, I wasn't around for this event. This one I was. I remember back in 2010, there was a huge oil spill, and everyone was talking about it. For a while, it was a huge thing. I remember there were commercials about oil spills. There were those things with the ducks and everything. It was really, really bad, and I thought it was really well portrayed in this movie. The way they portrayed it, it seems very real. It seems like this is very much how it happened. It probably is how it happened. In fact, because the fact that the movie is commissioned by some of the survivors, who I'm not going to tell you who lives and who dies, but it is in fact commissioned by some of the people who lived that day, I think that really does help in this film. They did that really well. I definitely really did appreciate that. I suppose my only flaw with the film is that when certain characters die, you feel for them, but they're not exactly that big, and I think overall, while it was sad to see, that happens very quickly, and I didn't really get the necessary catharsis that I wanted to the characters, but at the same time, they don't really either. This is a situation where there isn't a second to breathe, there's no time for them to keep on checking on these characters. They have to get the hell out of there, and you definitely do get that in this film. And there are some extremely intense scenes in this film, and what I love the most also about Deepwater Horizon in the screenplay is the way the movie continues to go on even after the disaster. It's not too long, but there's about 3 minutes longer, and one of the biggest well, not 3, I'd say maybe like 5 to 7 minutes, but one of the biggest parts of this movie is really who's to blame, and the way the movie did that, I thought was really well done. The way they kind of shows it's all their fault, and the way they really show that we shouldn't really be focusing on that. That was something I very much respected. I thought they handled that very, very well, and that was something that really did add to this movie overall, is really the who's to blame aspect really add to this, and I think because, again, how much we care about the characters, that's something else that was very well executed. Now, the cinematography in this movie obviously is fantastic to look at. Again, it doesn't really feel fantastical. It feels like this really happened. At times, I felt like I was watching real footage. That is how real the explosion seemed to me. And nothing about it felt CGI. Nothing about it felt fake. It felt like this is exactly the way the explosion happened. This happened, this sucked, and this is exactly how it happened, and there's no way that they're going to get out of this, and the way that all that was done, just the way the oil rig looked, it looks like, a regular oil rig, and nothing felt Hollywoodized there. Just the cinematography in general is crazy to look at. There are some shots that are absolutely stunning in this movie, and I really did love that, I have to say. I think there was just some really great shots here. A few in particular that definitely are very much implanted in my head, and definitely are not going to leave me, and I really did love the shots in the movie. They were just really great to look at. The score in this movie, I wouldn't say is minimal, but it's not really used as much as you think it is, and I really did like the score when it's used, but it's just not used as much, and the score was fine, but definitely not really a ton to say about it. The editing of this movie is some of the best of the year, I will definitely say. This movie is only 107 minutes long. I know I was shocked. I thought it was going to be like 2 hours, because these movies tend to be very long. That's something this movie benefits from really well, is that it has a shorter length, and it very well is divided into two halves. The first half being the before, the second half being the second half being the during. And that's something the movie did very, very well. It's a very tightly edited film. You could really tell they were trying to make this movie a little bit different, and they did it exceptionally well. I really did like the editing of this movie. It really did add to the film overall, and that's another reason why I love this movie as much as I did. So overall, guys, Deepwater Horizon is a really great survival movie that I definitely very much enjoyed. Like I said, I think it's just a cut above the rest from the other ones. It very well may be in my honorable mentions of the year. It's not going to be one of my best movies, but it might be my honorable mentions. I could definitely see this being one. And it is something where I do want to see this again. Most of these movies, I'm like, I'll probably never watch that again. Like Everest last year, I'm never watching that again. Just, I can't do that. But this movie, I could very well see myself watching again. There's enough enjoyment in this movie that's not just a bunch of people, getting severely hurt or killed or something like that. That's not the entire movie. There's enough fun character moments, there's enough good dynamics, there's enough great scenes for me to want to watch this again, and this movie really did surprise me. I really wasn't expecting much from it, but I am going to give Deepwater Horizon a 4.5 out of 5 or an A-. I absolutely love this movie. I encourage you guys to see it. If you are expecting the same type of survival film, I can understand that, but go into this with lower expectations. I think we'll come out with it absolutely loving it. I definitely was very surprised by it. I want to see more films made by this, and I can't wait to see how Wahlberg and Berg do in their next collaboration, Patriot Day. That is for sure going to be, hopefully, have as much character, have as much pathos, and just have as much great scenes and as much focus on the cinematography, on the characters as this one did. So overall, guys, I'm my review Deepwater Horizon. Most of you guys saw this movie, have seen, loved your thoughts on it, and I will see you guys in my next video, which will be for tonight's episode of The Flash, and we'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.